Hello, friends, and welcome to this episode of Booked. I'm your host, Saffron Asteria, and today my guest is the lovely Rob Mortell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
That's good. Perfect.
I had a little panic because usually I check beforehand, but I didn't, and I thought I'm going to wing it this time. I'll make
No,
sure
you
that it
nailed it.
hopefully
Nailed
it's
it.
around the correct sounds. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to speak to a different author every week, and hopefully we'll be able to delve into your creativity and your experience as an author. So we have some people in the chat already, so I just want to say hi to everybody. So we've got Sarah New, who is always lurking in the background. We've got Richard, and we also have Trinity Cunningham. Hello, everybody. We've also got Glenn, creative writing wizard himself. So yeah, if anybody has any questions at any time, please put them in the chat. I'm only going to share the nice ones. If you're rude, then that's your prerogative. Oh dear. So there's probably lots to talk about, but I'm first going to start off with your current published work, Tales and Treasure. So I have had the chance to read a portion of this book so far. I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's just another example of indie fantasy that's changing my mind about the genre because I don't normally read it. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I had been writing for a while, and that book took, I don't know, 5 or 6 years to get through editing and all this stuff. And I finally got through and gave up on the traditional route and ended up self-publishing it last year. It's about I like adventure fantasy most. That's just, I like, I grew up with Lord of the Rings and Wheel of Time and all that stuff. So it's a classic adventure fantasy, and it's about an unlikely pair, a bard and a treasure hunter, who wander through the world searching for essentially redemption in two different ways. There's a little bit of a found family. They get together with an 11-year-old girl and a mercenary who's an old friend of the treasure hunter, and they go on this quest to find a lost crown that's been hidden for a long time. That's the rightful heir to a kingdom. And yeah, so I mean, they go through the adventure. It's goes through forbidden forests and bandits, and but the main character is a bard, so it has a lot of folklore and interwoven tales in between. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to write, and I thought it was just a little bit of a different spin on your classic fantasy, told with a little bit more modern voice, I guess.
So in terms of you going down the traditional route and then switching directions, what ultimately was the thing that sealed the deal for you to go down the self-publishing route?
Well, I try. I mean, I gave it the old college try. I mean, I submitted. I don't know. I queried. I was on Query Tracker. I queried hundreds of agents. I don't know. I got some decent feedback back, and I mean, a lot of it was it's too long for me right here at this point, and then I didn't want to. There was a lot of it I cut some of it out myself, but there's a lot that I didn't want to cut out. I mean, I just it got to a point where it's like I wanted to. Like I said, I've been working on it for 5 or 6 years, and I just wanted to share something and kind of move on to my next project. So I thought I'd give it a try. The self-publishing route. Initially I had published it in weekly episodes on Substack.
Oh, cool.
As I kind of rounded it into shape for for self-publishing, and that worked out well. I got a decent following on there. So yeah, I just it's just a matter of wanting to share what I wrote, and it wasn't going anywhere traditionally, so moved on.
Yeah, that's the the general feedback I get from people is that they wanted to get their work out there, and having to wait years and years and years and years and getting so many rejections, you must get fatigued after a period of time where you're like, damn, I just want people to read my friggin' book.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You work hard on it. And, I just, I had gotten some good feedback from some friends and family. It's like, all right, well, might as well throw this out to the general public and see what they have to say. And yeah, it was just a matter of the next pieces that I wanted to write were continuing the story. So I needed to get that one out there first.
Yeah, I totally get that. And as I said, it's a very similar story to a lot of indie writers that I've spoken to, especially the ones that initially tried to go down that traditional route. You did mention that there were things that were recommended to you that you didn't want to change. Was some of the element of that decision based on you not wanting to like change your vision for the actual story itself?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of it was I had the feel about that one. I guess that's how the only way I can describe it. Like I wanted these several short stories kind of woven into the longer narrative that kind of all intertwine in the end. And I wanted to be able to tell it from some different POVs that you don't see a lot. So yeah, I just wanted to, it's right. I think that's how most authors will tell you. I mean, I just wanted the full, I wanted the full control of everything that went in there. So I think a lot of authors will say the same thing.
Mm-hmm. That's something that I love about self-published and indie books, is that you aren't always going to get the same thing when you're reading something. And the majority of, let's just stick with fantasy for now, the majority of fantasy books that I've read have far exceeded my expectations in terms of personality, which is possibly an odd thing to say, but I feel like when you have total control over the book that you're producing, that's you telling the story.
Right.
It's not this structure that has been forced upon you. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to like piss on traditional publishing. I'm trying to support indie publishing. So it's just so nice to see, especially like now I get to talk to you. So when I continue reading the book, I can read it in your voice, and I'm going to know a bit more about you and your motivations behind writing the story, and that enriches that thing for me as a reader. So that's why I enjoy things like this. Yeah, so I'm glad that you were like, screw it, I'm doing it anyway, and you did it, and it seems to be going pretty well. I mean, looking at your reviews, it's gotten quite good feedback. It's definitely been an enjoyable story so far. It's something that I want to continue reading, which I can't say for everything. Like, I don't love all books. I'm not going to pretend like I love all books, because that would be a lie. But this is very, very enjoyable. So if you do like fantasy out there, give it a go.
I appreciate it.
Of course. We have a lovely compliment from Trinity about your cover.
Thank you.
But I know, did you say that you have a new cover? Which is the one
there is a new cover coming. I love this cover too, but I couldn't reconnect with the artist who did it. And the sequel coming up, I wanted the covers to be cohesive. So I connected with a new artist to make do covers that will kind of stay in the same style as we move forward into more books.
No, that makes a lot more sense. And I know that you said the sequel's pretty much done.
The first draft is done. I'm more than halfway through the first round of edits. I'll be sending it out here to beta readers by the end of the year, hopefully.
Oh, amazing. Do you have much of the series planned out? Is it going to be like a duology? Is it going to be an obscenely long thing?
No, this is a 3 planned. It's a 3 novel series.
Okay.
Just trilogy. So I plan more. I like a lot what like Joe like fantasy wise, and like what Joe Abercrombie does, and like just building a lot of different stories in the same like interconnected world. Brandon Sanderson, that kind of stuff. So I have more stories planned, but this plot is going to be complete in 3 books.
Okay, cool. And so do you have further plans to expand the universe that you've created, or is that in the back of your mind at the moment?
I mean, they're not like, I'm not a um, I'm not a big outliner or a plotter, but I have different characters and storylines that I want to explore once I get through this piece.
Okay, cool. I'm not going to put pressure on you to say when things are going to be released because I know life happens.
The second book, I'm confident, will be released in 2026. When in 2026, I don't know. Hopefully, the middle of the year, but it will be sometime in 2026.
So you do have a newsletter and a blog. So I'm going to put the links for your newsletter and blog and your website in the chat right now in case people want to check it out or sign up to your newsletter, because I'm assuming that you'll probably update people when the next book is out and when you have other news going on. So I've just put those in the chat for anyone that wants to check it out. So something that I read on your Amazon bio, and I can't remember if it's in your Idiosyncrasy author feature bio because I read so many of them. It all just melds into one. So one day there'll be this like super writer in my brain, and it's got the personalities of every single person I've spoken to. Maybe there'll be a character in a book one day. So I know that you have a degree in journalism, which is heavily writing based. Obviously, you've got lots of research and investigation sort of skills from doing something like that. Has that been helpful in your fictional writing?
I think definitely when it comes to editing and being a little bit more succinct with phrasing and stuff like that, it definitely helps with the bones of everything. I most of the journalism I did was sports journalism, but you still take a lot from into the writing craft and that stuff, and working on a deadline and that kind of stuff. I mean, it all kind of is applicable to this stuff, especially trying to write a novel with 3 little kids and a full-time job and all this stuff. So I mean, that kind of, when you're finding like 25 minutes to write in a day, banging out the most words that you can in that time and being productive is helpful.
Yeah, I completely understand. One of the reasons why I don't want to have kids is because I want time to do stuff. So I'm in awe of people that have all of that stuff going on. And you also produced a multiple 100-page book that's actually good, and it's out there, and the next one's coming. It's incredibly impressive, and I really hope that you, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, like I really hope that you understand that that is massive and really, really cool.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was like I said, it was a lot of work. It's a lot of it's just my strategy was just finding finding 25 minutes every here or there, like lunchtime, and 3 different jobs. Like 3 different lunches was 25 minutes of writing, like 10 minutes of eating, and just like this thing, trying to string days together. I mean, that would be my advice to anybody who just get. It doesn't matter if it's 100 words. Like this Tales and Treasure is 125,000 words when it was finished, but I mean that took a couple of years to get there. But just 100 words to 500 words a day until it got there, and eventually did. So I mean, it took the work, but I think it paid off.
It can be done.
It can be done.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like you're probably somebody that can write in any environment. Do you have to have silence? Do you have to like shut yourself away from the sounds?
I usually write with like lo-fi beats kind of stuff going on. Silence, no. I need a little bit of background noise. The only time I need complete silence when I'm reading, but when I'm writing, I need a little bit of something in the background.
Yeah, I find video game music works well for me. Yeah, I have a playlist. It's just called Dopamine, and it's just like the soundtrack for Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot and Terraria. Because I know that like I might get the tunes in my head, but it's more of an atmospheric tune rather than like I'm trying to sing along to the words now, and now I'm writing the same words I'm singing in my head.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I've tried writing in a coffee shop before, and I find myself focusing so hard that I sit there for a solid 3 hours and I just completely zone out. And I think that's deeply creepy. And then I get embarrassed and don't want to go back to that coffee shop again.
Yeah.
Because I'm always scared that I'm going to get a reputation for being like that weird little woman in the corner. I say little, I'm massive. But in the corner with like the hunchback, because I'm like over my computer like this. Oh.
I know how you feel. I used to, I go to, I mean, like there was a couple of Starbucks by my house, and then you start getting recognized at the Starbucks as the guy who comes in and just sits in the corner and has the one cup of coffee and just there for 2 hours writing and stuff. So I mean, you gotta. I found that I like my library best if I'm writing somewhere outside my house.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, just being around, I just like being in them personally, but it helped there.
Oh, I love going to the library. It's so much fun. I found my local, because I'm British, as you can probably tell, but I live in Texas, and in the last sort of year, I've managed to find my local library, and it's just, I forgot how nice it is to be surrounded by books and people that want to read and learn, but nobody is allowed to really talk to each other because it's quiet. So there's no like risk that people are going to come and ask you what you're doing.
Right.
Yes. Save libraries. Visit a library.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to ask you a question about marketing now.
Please.
So the question is, do you have a plan for marketing? Because I know it's something that you do probably on a daily basis outside of your writing. And I only know this because it's in your Amazon author bio. I'm not a stalker. So, yeah, do you have a plan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how good. So the plan was to, as I said, I serialized it on Substack beforehand. The plan was to cultivate an audience as I rounded it into shape with the serialization on Substack, and that kind of grew, pretty well for what I was expecting, and I was trying to grow my social medias and stuff along the same line.
Yeah.
And ramped that up as we got to release date. I released it October 1st last year. And the initial push was really good. And it was a lot of support from friends and family and all that good stuff, and some word of mouth. And I had a good writing group, and that went well. Then it died down, as things kind of usually do around the holidays. I worked with I did some email marketing as far as trying to send it out free a bunch of times to get people to sign up for my newsletter and Substack. That went okay. Right now, I mean, it's basically not, I've kind of fallen off the plan that I had. And my new plan is that the best marketing for Tales and Treasure is just going to be finishing book 2, Bards and Bargains.
Yeah.
And just getting more of that stuff out there. So I've been quiet on social media and on my Substack and website, just trying to get this next piece of content out. And I just wanted, just trying to be, I just try to put out a, just an honest front that I'm trying to produce this content that I think people will like. So, and I'm just decided that it'll take a little bit of time, but once I get it there, then I can, do months of push, whether that's email campaigning or social media campaigns, and that kind of stuff. I'm still open to it all.
I found when I've asked people questions like that, I know marketing is incredibly time consuming for books specifically. And a lot of it is trial and error, especially if this is like the first thing that you've had to do in terms of marketing. And I'm hopefully your experience in that world has been helpful to you. But it's still not easy. When you're trying to convince total strangers that this thing that you spent just an obscene amount of time on is worth them spending 8, 10, 12, 15 hours with you. to stick with the story. So yeah, it's the trap, and I've said this before. The trap that I've seen people fall into is that they assume that every marketing plan or method or technique is going to be exactly the same for every book, and it just simply isn't. Like, your followers or your readers might be on a very specific social media platform, for example, like romantasy, romance. You probably want to lean towards Instagram or TikTok and things like that. So I definitely can see why having your Substack and building your followers and your readership through that would be super helpful. And I've seen a few writers do that. It's not always successful, but I'm glad it works for you. Is that what you're going to do with the second book, or are you planning on releasing that as a whole?
I haven't decided yet. The only reason I think I will release it serial. I'll do it the same way. But the only reason I wouldn't is because I can't put it on Kindle Unlimited now that it's on other platforms, right? So I mean, that's the one drawback to having it, going wide, which I did, but I think I like, being wide and being on other platforms and, kind of spreading it out as much as I can. I right now, I guess long answer to an easy question is no, I don't know at this point, but I think once I get through the second pass of edits, after I get it back from the beta readers and go through another round of edits, I'll start serializing it. That's my initial thought.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, it's a really good way of giving people a taster. And I know that on Kindle, for example, they do allow people to download like a sample of a book. And that's been really, really helpful for me to be able to figure out if I actually want to commit time, because I read so much that I will not finish a book if I don't like it. And so it's good to have that sample and to get to know that piece of work. I mean, you could just read Tales and Treasure and see if you like that. And then if you like that, you'll like the second book. Yeah. And I've definitely seen quite a lot of people say that if you've got a series, then that will ensure success. Whereas if you have like a standalone book, it's a lot harder to market because I don't know why.
I don't know. Yeah, I got a piece of advice from I met some local writers where I'm by. They're like, the best, they just said, just keep putting out books. That's what they said. Just keep, basically just keep plugging along. Like I said, the best piece of marketing for this Tales and Treasure will be the next book. So that's my strategy here going forward, finishing the next one and seeing where that goes.
Cool. So do you read in the same genre that you write in?
Almost exclusively. And I know that I should expand it, but I mean, so I read a lot of fantasy.
I mean, you like what you like.
Right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, exactly. What I will say, in favor of reading outside your preferred genre, is that you may discover things that will help you with your own work, because so many things are multi-genre, and you can insert. I mean, you probably already know this anyway. I'm not trying to teach you to suck eggs, but I used to exclusively read. This is awful. Posts on Reddit in the /NoSleep subreddit. So it was all like creepypasta, horror stories that were supposed to be like people telling a true story that had happened to them, and that was the whole thing. And I would read those all the time, and that would be the only thing I would read, which is nuts thinking about it now. And I was like, scare me more, that's not scary enough. And I used to only read really like horrendous horror, and then I got into extreme horror, and I was like, this is my bread and butter, I only want to read horror from now on. And then I started doing this, and I'm like, I like fantasy now, what the fuck? I didn't know that was a thing for me. And I will say that is something that I love about this community, is that I've kind of like I've forced myself to read things that I would never have looked at twice, like romance books and, as I said, fantasy books and sci-fi. Like, I love sci-fi movies and sci-fi shows. I didn't like reading sci-fi, but I like reading my friends' sci-fi books because now I know why they wrote it and why they did the thing that they did. And there's always just something about it that's just a bit weird or like a bit out of the ordinary. It doesn't make me want to just pick up any fantasy book, but it's definitely improved my my view of what's possible in terms of my own writing. So I definitely recommend it. But if you don't want to, don't do it. Obviously, I'm not.
I've tried. I try. I mean, this year I know I've read a couple that are outside what I normally do, and you know it's always good to get that fresh perspective, especially as I'm trying new things that you know I expand a little bit into the second book, and there's a little bit of romance in there, so I gotta have. I had to read a little bit of the, you know, fantasy romance stuff lately. So I read some of that stuff, and I mean, it's good. Just you know, it's just a learning experience, and I mean, it's all good. It's entertaining stuff, so it's I'm for it. It's just usually if I'm looking online or if I'm, you know, if I come across something, it's usually in the fantasy world that, you know, kind of grabs my attention first, and that's where I then go lean to. Just, you know, that's all I read as a kid, so it's, you know, comforting.
Have you always wanted to write fiction, or is it a recent thing?
No, I always had. Like I remember, ever since going to see Lord of the Rings with my dad when I was like 10, it was like I wanted to make stories like that. I want to write like that. So yeah, no, it's always been. We used to, you know, write little stories every here and there. And like I said, I went to school for journalism. Wanted to, you know, I was always into sports and stuff growing up. So I was going to be the dream out of college was a sports writer, but you know that didn't work out. And now I'm in marketing and trying to make it here as a fantasy author on the other side.
Is the ideal scenario that this will be like your full-time thing?
Like, eventually, yeah. I mean, that's the hope, right? That's what we're trying. That's what I'm trying to get to.
So this is such a cheesy question, but I really want to know. What does success look like to you as an author?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just sharing my. I wrote this book as a book that I wrote this book for me. I wrote it because this is the kind of book that I would like to read, and I wanted to share with other people, and I want to maybe find, you know, a small community that is passionate about the characters that, you know, that I created, the world that I created. So just being able to share it with, you know, however many people who can find or take something from some of these people, and, you know, kind of relate to the stories that are going on in there. And it's not a New York Times bestseller or anything like that, but if I can leave something behind that my kids can kind of pick up later in life and be like, oh, my dad wrote that. That's success.
Cool. That's a very nice answer. So I just threw that at you, but I thought some people in their mind have like a number or, you know, a monetary value or, you know, an amount of reviews. But it's nice to hear that you're like, no, I genuinely just want to share my story with people.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was about. I mean I have the luxury of having a good full-time job and a supportive family and all that stuff. So like I said, this is a hobby, and you know, I mean, eventually to be able to do it full-time would be incredible if I ever got to that point. But you know, right now I love fantasy stories and I love characters and all this stuff, and the communities that I found are great. So just being able to be a small part of that is all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I freaking love this community. I say it all the time. I'm just obsessed with it. Like occasionally you'll get the odd dickhead and I just mute. Is my best friend. I'm like, I don't want to hear from you anymore. But largely this community is incredibly supportive and lovely. It's just a nice place to be. Do you play video games?
I do.
What kind of video games do you play?
I play mostly open world my open world RPGs. Like my favorite game, I guess it's not the game I've logged the most hours into is Skyrim. Speaking of soundtracks, I've listened to that soundtrack a lot while writing. Tales and Treasure. Me and my buddies just finished Baldur's Gate 3. We play. I have a group of 3 buddies. That's how we now we're older and we don't get to see each other as much anymore. So we kind of once or twice a week we'll play on online co-op that you can play. So it's either Borderlands, I mean something like that, a campaign or something that all 4 of us can play at the same time. So we finished Baldur's Gate and that was awesome. And right now I'm playing Expedition 33 by myself, and that one's actually really cool. That one's cool.
Nice. What is your class in a fantasy game?
I try. I usually, I mean, if it's Skyrim, you kind of always just go back to a sneaky archer kind of person. But I do like the thief, and I did play a bard in Baldur's Gate 3, and it kind of based it off the character that was in the book, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, I kind of all over the map, like to try new things.
I wish I was that adaptable. I'm like, every time I start a new game in anything like Diablo or World of Warcraft or like Elden Ring, I'm like, give me the barbarian or a crusader. I want to bash, I want to smash. Let's get this done. Because I can't, like, because my husband's very much in the magic-y sort of stuff and he likes to be the healer. And I'm like, great, because I like to take lots of damage.
There you go.
Yeah. That's what I prefer to play. I just assumed because like most fantasy writers quite like RPGs.
Oh yeah, love them.
They're a great inspiration. I find that it's like you can take a lot of inspiration from playing video games, especially if you're like me and you like to just wander off the map as far as you can possibly go.
Right.
I'm terrible at video games. In World of Warcraft, one of my pastimes as a kid would be to see how far I can swim into the sea before the map stops.
I've tried that game before.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It turns out it's rubbish because it crashes the game, so don't do that. And it takes a really long time. They've got a lot of ocean in that game. I wouldn't recommend it as a thing to do. If anybody does have any questions for Rob, please do put them in the chat. I don't want to miss them. There are loads of things going on in the chat, but a lot of it's just you guys chatting to each other, which is very cute. So I'm glad you guys are all having a nice time. I'm just going to have a little skim through just to see if anyone said anything. We have a Skyrim fan, Richard. Rod used to play the Atari 2600 many years ago. What did you used to play, Rod? Very curious to know. I can't see any questions as such. We've had more people join us, so thank you so much for being here. I'm like name blind because there are so many messages in the chat. So hello to everyone. Asterisk. I love you guys. So in terms of your experience writing book 1 and then moving to book 2, how, if at all, have you changed in the way that you approach both writing and getting the thing ready to be read?
That's a good question. So, like I said, book 1 took 4-5 years just to write draft 1.
Yeah.
But that's because when I was writing it, I would edit as I went. I would edit whatever I wrote the day or a couple days before, whatever the next session was. I would edit the thing before that to get started, and that was great for a cleaner first draft when it was all said and done. But by the time the session was done, you were getting like 100 new words if I'm doing a 25-minute session. So this book 2, I just kind of embraced a really sloppy first draft, and it went. I got it done. I wrote most of it. I mean, it's finished at 100 and 29,000 words ish around there. And I wrote most of it this year. Um, and it was, I mean, that's the most like new content that I've ever written in a year. And so I produced that way faster than the first one. The challenging part is here. So I finished that in like August, like beginning of August. And I wanted to be, the editing process is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. It's just, like I said, I had embraced the sloppy first draft. So there's a lot of stuff in there that's just like, I would put parentheses like, figure out tavern name here, or figure out X here. I would put this print like to add later. So I would just keep going. I was going back and through. So the editing part is taking a lot longer. And I'm at that point in the writing process where I'm like, I don't know, this thing is terrible. Why am I even doing this? But I'm gonna power through it. I'm like 65-70% of the way done with the first edit, and it's getting there. There.
That's pretty good going.
Yeah, it's I can edit it pretty fast, but like some of it gets frustrating. Like, why you're just yelling at your past self? Like, why it's not that hard? You could have come up with this name. Why do I gotta do it now?
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, you probably time-wise, you're going to take about a similar amount of time in terms of hours for your editing, but at least you were able to get the story out, and you're not like, you weren't stuttering to get it finished.
Right.
Yeah, I still don't know what my technique is. I haven't even finished it yet. So we've got Rod here. So he says, Rob, I truly believe, write your story, let your creativity flow, and edit later. He writes, edits, and then publishes. You'll get your best story by writing it. So somebody else does the same. We also have a couple of questions from Ellen Holmes. So what has been your biggest challenge as an author?
Just my biggest challenge is just balancing it all, just balancing the work and family and writing, and being in marketing full time, and then having to market on off time is exhausting. I mean, it's not like I know what to do, but it's just a matter of I put in 9 hours, and then I've got to find time to get my 1 hour of writing or whatever, and then it's family, and then it's like you got to find some time in there to market the book and make the content for it and all kinds of stuff. So that's definitely been the biggest challenge, which is why I kind of pivoted to just, I'm going to write, and the content's going to hopefully just speak for itself eventually.
I mean, it is such a tough balance, and I wonder, is it something where you finish your day job and then you think, okay, I've got to do some stuff for my book now, and do you ever just go, I can't be bothered, I'm not doing it today? Or do you force yourself to do it?
No, I get a lot of those days. A lot of those days, it's like, all right, well, something. I'll try to batch a bunch. Like if I find like inspiration hits or whatever, I'll try to batch some stuff together, some posts, or I'll get some. I'll sit down and carve out some time for a newsletter update and that kind of thing. But I'll try to batch things together. But a lot of times it's just like, I don't have I'd rather spend the 30 extra creative minutes that I have working on book 2 than marketing book 1. And I mean, it's been tough as far as sales go, but I mean, that's just kind of where it is at this point.
It's the nature of the beast, and if you're not able to do it literally constantly, and right. If you don't think people get sick of it, if you have to find that time, then you are going to come up against readership issues or engagement issues, because
right.
I mean, even down to like algorithms for social media, that was difficult to say. It rewards you for being consistent, and it rewards you for being there all the time. And I mean, I've even found, trying to find engagement for the website and for the show, that there are some things that just plain don't work, and one of them is taking a day off, which sucks because I don't want to spend all my time responding to comments and, you know, trying to think of new things to post. And I'm like, oh, I'll just tell everybody I had a funny fart. That's something. At least it's out there. And then I'm like, oh, now I've got to respond to the comments. And it's this vicious circle of misery because social media, and I hate to say it, is a cesspool. And that doesn't mean the people that I love and the people I speak to and the people in the community that I like. I mean, just generally speaking, it's also full of sewage. And you have to be in that space. It's so emotionally and mentally exhausting that it's off-putting, but it's this tool that everyone needs to use. And yeah, it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, it's just like you go on Instagram or something to make a post, and then you figure out something to put on there, and then it's up there, and it doesn't get the results that you want, and then I'm just sitting there scrolling and then wasting, I just wasted the hour or whatever. So I mean, like I said, it's a vicious cycle, and I know that I need to utilize those tools better, but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah. I'd just like to quickly point out, Sarah, that cesspool comment wasn't about you. But if you're assuming that as your role, then that's on you, buddy. So Ellen Holmes also had a question. In fact, no, hang on. I don't want to change subjects because I'm very good at changing subjects and getting confused and not circling back. So I'm fixing that. So Rod says, many writers have said 6 years later, the second book took off and sold like crazy. They had no idea why. Marketing is a mystery, and it is so hard for us all because it is so vital. I can read. That was just a real struggle for me for a second. My eyes started crossing. I was like, what are words? My goodness. But yeah, totally agree. And as I said at the beginning, you would have missed it, Rod, is that everybody has to market differently. And that is the main issue. So we're all just figuring it out. Once you find that groove, though, God mine. But it's really hard to find the groove. Flitting back to the subject change. So Holmes asked, have you thought about writing other genres? I know we sort of touched on it earlier, but have you got a horror book in your back pocket that I'll be excited about?
I don't have a horror book in my back pocket. I have some contemporary fiction that I'd like to write at some point. But now it's mostly just fantasy stuff. I like Frederick Cotton, like A Man Called O. I love that kind of book. I like to write though. I have stories that kind of go along that those similar vein like that. That at some point I'd like to just sit down and write. But like I said, I mean, this is where my heart's at right here in the fantasy world, and want to get through this story in this world here first before I kind of dive into that stuff. But eventually, I do some. I guess on my Substack I have short stories around there too, but most of them are interconnected to the world of Emery at large. But some of them are not, but most of them, even the cozier ones usually have some kind of magical aspect about them.
Because that's what you love, and that's very cool. And it's nice that you have been able to find the time and the energy to create something that you truly care about, because you obviously do really care about it. You can tell in the way it's written. I mean, you said right at the beginning that you wrote a book that you wanted to read, and that very much comes across. And I feel like when people do write from their heart, sounds cheesy, but it's true, things that they really genuinely care about, it reads like that. I'm also excited to read the story because you're excited to tell me, and that's really cool. So we have another question. So this is from Rod. So Rob, I have to get them right. It's from Rod for Rob. Do you agree that having a brand and an identity helps with your marketing, like Nike or Apple, because their brand sells? So rephrasing a little bit, do you feel like you need to have a brand as an author to sell your book, or do you lead with the book?
Well, I mean, with my background, I have like I have a Rob Mortell writes, like I have a logo and I have all this stuff on the website, and I have a palette of colors that I try to stick to, and certain fonts that I use. Like I mean, I stick to just stuff that that are kind of second nature now in the day to day kind of stuff. I mean, having an identifiable brand definitely helps, but I think I personally want the stories to speak for themselves. I would rather person be like, oh, I love that Tales and Treasure book. Who's that author's name? Not like that kind of thing. So I know that, I mean, having a brand definitely helps, and I'm trying to have mine be as consistent as possible, but I'm not pushing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that I see a lot of authors do, and with varying degrees of success, because if the branding's not good, then you're branding the whole thing as being not very good. So yeah, it's a difficult balance, because when you frame it in this this branded way where it's in a framework, and if people don't speak, if it doesn't speak to the right audience, for example, you're putting people off, even with the color scheme potentially. So yeah, it's really interesting, and I think I've seen a few authors as well, and I'm sure most people will agree that although you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, you absolutely do. So I've seen a lot of people that say, I don't need to market very much because the cover is really good, so people want to read it. Yeah, so it's just interesting. And I mean, you already had lots of compliments about your cover, and you've got your new consistent sort of branding across your series. With the second one coming up. So yeah, it's interesting how many hats authors have to wear when they make the choice of self-publishing. And I'm sure that your experience that you have in your day job, and what you studied, was very, very helpful to you, but it's still a minefield of new knowledge. Like, there are so many different laws that you have to worry about. There's formatting, there's layout, there's do I want to make the choice to commit myself to the Bezos, or do I want to spread my story far and wide and give other stores a chance? And there's just so many huge decisions that writing really is like this much of it, even if you have written 120 odd thousand words, and the rest of it is so massive, and it's so off-putting. I can see why people want to stay in the trenches, in the querying trenches, because it is icky.
Yeah, for sure.
So I haven't seen any new questions come through. So I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me today. Rob very kindly agreed to step in last minute, so I appreciate you making the time for me today, and it's been such a pleasure to get to know you. I hope that you've had a nice time, and I hope you
great.
Check out these books. Otherwise, I'll
please. No, it's been great. I had a lot of fun. I'm happy to be able to move some things around and be out here. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put the links in the chat, and I'll also pop the links into the description of the episode, so that if anybody's watching the recording, they can go and have a look at the links. This will also be available on Spotify. Hang on, I have to remember this. Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Apple, something else. Castbox. There we go. In the next few days. Oh, I have another question. Would you mind if I quickly popped it in there? Have you got time for another question?
I do, yeah. I got time.
Okay, lovely. Sorry about that. I only just saw it. So Rod asks, do you have any thoughts on why marketing a bicycle or a TV? What? Why marketing? I don't know what that means. I assume it's, why is it so hard to market a book, but it's easier to market a bicycle or a television? Possibly. I don't know.
I don't know. There's quantity. I mean, just saturation, market saturation, I guess. I mean, there's only so many different. I guess I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I should have read that first. Anyway, so thank you again. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everyone joining us today, and I hope everybody has a lovely evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. See you later.